best of the bounce it.
Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another live stream. Welcome back to all your latest Chelsea news. And of course, welcome back to the home of the world champions. Big up to everyone that's locked in. Make sure you're smashing up the like, subscribe if you're new around here. All of that good stuff. And as always, make sure you get involved in the chat. Got a big show today, people. Big show. Joined by Pys, which is fantastic as always. We've got loads to go through. Maresca, his comments. Is he taking digs at the board over the recruitment, over the transfers? Is this going to end badly? Where are we at with Chelsea? How are we feeling about the current situation? The big games coming up against Brighton, Benfica. Loads to dive into. But people, before we get going, just a quick reminder, as always, make sure you check out Jersey's FC Soccer Shop. Link is in the description. Use code BLUEBROTHER for 20% off. Home kit, away kit, third kit, whatever you want. Make sure you're looking good throughout the season, guys. Names, numbers, patches, whatever you want on the back. Good quality, affordable prices. Make sure you get your hands on it. 20% off using code BLUEBROTHER. But that is enough about that. Pys, how are we doing, brother? You good?
Yes, bro, doing good. You know, Chelsea's been a bit up and down this season so far, but not doing too bad. You know, only a couple more days till our next game, so yeah, lots going on still on you know, as always in Chelsea. So yeah, not doing too bad.
Nah, good to hear, brother. Good to hear. Let me say hello to a few people in the chat, and then we'll get into the conversation. Maresca is gone, in my opinion. Fair enough. Yeah, we've got Wolves in the next round. Yes, big up, bro. Not looking forward to the Brighton game. Saying I'm nervous. Understatement. Fair. Yes, big up to you, Jordan. What else we got going on? Yes, big up, brother. Garnacho out. Fair play. I respect the hate early doors. Fair enough. Yes, big up, bro. Yes, big up, guys. Hope you're doing well. Pys, let's get straight into it, bro. A lot's being made of Maresca's comments. Rightly so, in my opinion, in terms of him saying them. I don't mean in terms of the noise it's created. He's clearly not happy with the transfer window. He's clearly not happy with the recruitment, not happy that he didn't get a centre-back. Maybe he's not happy with the goalkeeper, not happy with the options that he's got at his disposal. He's made that clear on a number of occasions now. Where are you at with this whole situation? Was the transfer window actually way worse than a lot of us thought? And is he justified in what he's saying in terms of saying it publicly? Because we've seen this happen over the number of managers before, and ownerships, whatever ownership it tends to be, they don't take too kindly to being publicly criticised. I mean, what are your thoughts on it all?
Yeah, well, I think, you know, during the summer transfer window, I'd made my feelings pretty clear in terms of the targets we were going for, more sort of young, unproven, inconsistent, raw players, you could say. Yeah, I think towards the end of the window, you know, Maresca asked for a central centre-back very publicly. He didn't get that. He also, you know, made it pretty clear about the striker situation. You know, at least internally, as far as I'm aware, you know, I'm not really sure he's a massive fan of Guiu coming back. Not really sure he's a massive fan of certain things, but you know, I found it interesting when Maresca was appointed, because knowing how this ownership, you know, run, and we say, you know, like they don't like their ego, you know, sort of like tested, I guess, like they're very sensitive to things. And ultimately, I've always said they want a yes man in charge. They want someone who's just going to follow their rules, basically not ask for certain targets, not ask for, you know, not demand things. You're very much a coach at Chelsea. You're not a manager. Yes, you can ask for certain profiles. If they agree with it, players can come in. But you ultimately, as a coach, you work with what you're given. You try and progress the club each season with young players. We all know the model. So I think Maresca's not completely fed up with it, but I think he's a little bit annoyed at some of the players that come in the window and some of the decisions that were taken from above. And I think maybe ultimately, whether he was right or wrong after winning that Club World Cup, maybe he thought he was going to get some extra say, some extra power. And everyone knows that that's not the case. And I think ultimately just disappointment, really, because after so much spent, we know there's areas that need addressing still. There's major gaps and holes in the squad. Yeah, I just find it crazy, to be honest, because literally everyone in the fan base can see it. Yeah, well, it seems like everyone can see it, not even just fans, but pundits, I've even had myself lately agreeing with like Jamie Carragher. He's saying you can't go to Old
Tell me
Trafford.
about it. Yeah.
You can't go to Old Trafford with them centre backs and goalkeeper and expect to. He was talking about winning the league, but it's like it's true. Like it's madness, mate. Centre backs, goalkeepers. I think we left ourselves short up front as well because I think
100%.
João Pedro was signed to be that versatile attacker. He was supposed to be he was supposed to cover a number of positions. He had a few good games, and then we just decided he's our striker. So I think there's a lot of things where Maresca's like this is just not the way that he maybe thought he was going to go in terms of publicly speaking on it. I mean, I don't mind it personally. He's not like he's come out and explicitly said, against the model, and he's not done a Conte or anything like that. But like, he's what he's implying things, the way he says things. Oh, that's a little dig there, it's a little dig. But he's right to say that, man. Like, you're going to be frustrated if you ask for certain things and you've achieved the target of top 4, which apparently wasn't the target until his second season. If you've achieved that early, and also won the Club World Cup, also won the Conference League as much as we all thought we should win that, then of course he's going to be annoyed if he doesn't get certain things. He's right to be annoyed.
Bro, I 100% agree. I mean, I was saying it all summer. The window was not bad in terms of the sales were very good. I think the João Pedro signing was very good, but outside of that, we didn't really do anything that's moved the team forward. I think we've got a better squad than we had last season, but we haven't got a better team than we had last season, in my view. If you look at the four attackers that went out in Jackson, Nkunku, Felix, and Madueke, those 4 out, the 5 that have come in, only one of those players that have come in João Pedro, is better than anything that left. Gittins is not better than anything that left. Garnacho is not better than anything that left. Buonanotte is not better than anything that left. So when you're looking at it in that perspective, we have made the squad in that area of the pitch for the time being. I think we've made it worse, which seems absolutely mental. But that's my issue, is that with this recruitment, with the way that we do it, you're capping what you can achieve in terms of how much this team can progress forward, because every summer you're constantly starting again with raw, unproven players. We're not in a position where we are like, where we've got the luxury of, say, a Bournemouth or a Crystal Palace or these kinds of clubs where we can say to a Gittins, okay, mate, you're going to start 5, 6, 7, 8 games in a row. Go and make your mistakes. Go and do your learning. If we lose a few games, it's not a complete disaster. At Chelsea, we don't have that luxury, and yet pretty much bar João Pedro, almost every player we signed needs that luxury of 5, 6, 7, 8 starts on the spin to bed themselves in and just learn. We can't be doing that when you look at Man City's, when you look at Arsenal's, when you look at Liverpool's, the recruitment they've done, the players that they've brought in. Which we're trying to move forward and close the gap. And you look at the way that we've operated this summer, you look at the players that we've brought in compared to the players that the clubs we're trying to close the gap on have brought in, the gap's widened. And I just don't get how the powers that be sit there and think we're trending in the right direction. Yes, we got back to the Champions League. Yes, Club World Cup, Conference League, brilliant, good, very good season for us. But that's the time where you need to push on. Liverpool just won the league and had the window that they had. We won the Club World Cup and went out and replaced players who many felt weren't good enough with players who aren't even as good as the players that left.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much. Yeah. No, I mean, that's the thing, though, isn't it? Like their counter to that will be, but they will be better than the players that left. It's too early. But it's like, at what point? We keep going season by season by season. Each season goes very fast, and it's like we don't like. Will they be better than the players that left? If so, how long? Like, we're not a development club. Like, fans are going to get tired of, of just these, I don't know, all right seasons. Like, when are we going to challenge for the league? And like, when are we going to be consistent Champions League contenders? Like, when are we going to be consistent in the domestic cups? When are we going to have a squad where everyone is agreement that the manager should be delivering? Because that's the other thing as well. It's like there's a lot of this like Maresca in, Maresca out. Is he good enough? Is he not? based on a few games this season. But let's be honest, look at the players that you said that we brought in. Like, did you really expect any of them to have an instant impact? Do you really expect any of those players, especially when, you know, we've had a little rest, to kind of, you know, push over the needle? You know, as I said, we get maybe one every summer if lucky. You know, João Pedro this summer. But even that's still early knock-ins, you know. What's to say he continues this form? It's just, I don't know, man. It's just a lot of placing bets. It's a lot of gambling by the ownership every summer. That's what it is.
But this is what it is, though, bro. Like, and look, this is not something I'm saying after the first 5 games of the season. This is something that I've consistently said, really, since this lot came in 3 years ago, is that the whole transfer policy is red or black. It's a gamble. You are signing players hoping they're going to become as good as what your data and what the data and what your research suggests. Now, on a pure numbers basis, some players will, and some will work out. You know, they're living off the Cole Palmer transfer right now as evidence of that. But we've signed over 50 odd players under this ownership, right, in the last 3 years. And I was going through this the other day. We've probably got 4 or 5 players out of that 50 who are what you consider top class players and would be good enough to win a Premier League. Reece James is already here, so I'm not counting him. So you've got Marc Cucurella, Cole Palmer, Caicedo, and you could put Enzo Fernandez in there as well as 4.
I wouldn't even put Enzo in there. Honestly, I
well,
wouldn't.
Yeah, so maybe you wouldn't. So maybe Enzo is maybe questionable. So you're looking at Cucurella, Cole Palmer, and Moises Caicedo. 3 players right now. Reece James, I'll include him in terms of the quality, but he wasn't signed. He was already here. So looking at 3 players out of 50 who are top class, maybe world class players that we've signed. That's abysmal. Like, are people understanding like how mad that is? We spent a lot of money as well, by the way, and yet we've got 3 players who we deem as world class. That's not right.
Yeah, I mean, it's the hit to miss ratio is outstandingly negative, we should say. I think, like you said, for some club that they say all this about data and everything's backed up and all this. I mean, like you say, the hit to miss ratio is alarmingly negative. And you know, there's probably a few players there that you could say, if they're consistent or maybe they're borderline good enough, like an Enzo, like a João Pedro. Yeah, Esteval might be, you know, in a couple of years, but other than that, you know, you're really looking at, I don't know, man. Yeah, there's not many in the squad where you're like, wow, like, you know, and that's the thing. Even some of them that you can include, make an argument for, like an Andre Santos, you know, maybe that's another 2-3 years until he's you know, until he's top quality. And will he be here in 2 or 3 years? That's the problem. Is like, for me, they go on about building and you know, building a team, but it's like, you mix the team up every summer anyway, so you're not building the team, are you? You just you're doing as much. I mean, you're doing insane quantity of player trading. So you're not building a team. And the reason why you have to do an insane quantity of player trading is because the players you bring in aren't good enough. And they show that after 1 or 2 years. So how do you build something if your hit to miss ratio is alarmingly trending negative? Because every time you get to the summer, like let's be honest, right? Do both of, okay, let's say Garnacho and Gittins, for example, will one of them get sold this in summer 2026? I'd put an over 50% chance that one of them does. And that is exactly the problem with this model. It's exactly the problem. It's you're not building a squad. Like, you're really not. You're doing too much player trading, and your bets you're placing on the players are like, more often than not, are failing. So your recruitment isn't even that good. You know, like it's crazy.
But that's a good point, though, bro. Like, when people praise us for our selling and the way that we're able to move players on, that is commendable, and it's something we've always been very good at, and that's continued under this ownership. However, the other side of it, what people don't seem to take into account is that's also a number of shocking buys that haven't worked out.
They're just
but
flogging the shit before.
we're able to move them on because they're of a certain age and because they're not because they're not on ridiculous wages. So we're able to move those players on. So yes, we should praise for our selling and our ability to get fees for players, but also that reflects badly on the transfer on our transfer business in terms of, well, all these players we're selling are players that were signed that turned out to be nowhere near good enough. So you know, what is it? You know, are we praising the selling, or should we be criticizing the transfers because the ones that are being sold are all players that were signed that were nowhere near good enough? It's beyond me. It really is, and I just like worry. And this is not based off this first 5 games this season, but I just look at how we're trying to close the gap on Arsenal, City, Liverpool. I know we're only 5 games in, but based on the window and what we've seen so far, I'm struggling to see how we're going to close that gap this season.
No, we won't. We won't, because we've got more injuries this season, naturally, because of the Club World Cup. We've had 2 to 3 weeks preparation. The players have had no time off. We're tired, you know, which is affecting our press and the way we want to play. It's season 2 of Maresca, so I know we faced a lot of deep blocks this season, but even now we're still facing deep blocks, but teams have a better tactical plan against us because they know how we play. They know how we build up. So there's that side of things. There's obviously the player quality side of things. So there's 3 or 4 bullet points there that when you join them all together equals we are not closing the gap. So it's just like, for me, it's annoying because we go into every single season, or the last 2 seasons, I'm like, after this summer, I'm like, well, you know, we can finish 4th, but that's about it, really. You know, 3rd if City have a terrible season, like utterly terrible, and Pep just falls off, you know, or something like that. You know, we're not, like, we're nowhere near the 2nd or 1st best team in the league. Nowhere near. Like, we're just not. Can we beat a team in a one-off game, or maybe pull together? Like, can we beat Arsenal and Barcelona back to back in November?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because we're still Chelsea, right? And that's why I think we're decent in knockout competitions, because first of all, you don't play as many deep blocks. Second of all, naturally more motivation is there. And third of all, we're built like a cup team. Like, we're not built for 38 games a season. We're not built for like we've seen so far this season. We're not built for playing I don't even know, like a team on Tuesday and then a team on Saturday, you know, and like we're not got the quality to win consistently every 3 or 4 days, and that's the problem, really. They didn't do enough in the summer to give us enough good depth, in my opinion.
No, bro, I agree with you. But do you know what the mad thing is, though? We've been a cup side since Conte won the league. We've been nowhere near over 38 games since 2017 when Conte won the league. Like, this is not a new problem. This is not a Clear Lake issue. This is not a Maresca issue. This has been a Chelsea issue for what will end up being over 10 plus years, that we are not able to compete over 38 games on a consistent basis. Since we last won the title, we've not finished above 3rd. Like, that's unforgivable for a club of Chelsea's stature. So when you really look into it, we've been a cup side for 8 years already. We've been a cup side for 8 years now. And to close the gap in terms of the levels of consistency required to win a Premier League title, you need to build a squad that has got the quality to compete twice a week. We've already seen how much we're struggling with rotation after 1 round of Champions League matches. We're struggling with our rotation after just 1 round of Champions League matches. You know, this is...
Mate, I tell you what, the Champions League's scary this year, right? Because everyone kind of looked at that draw, like, yeah, we've got a tough group. Everyone kind of looked at that draw and went, right, how do we get through to the knockout stages? We're going to win. We're going to beat Benfica. We're going to beat Ajax. We're going to beat Paphos. And we're going to beat Karabag. That's 4 wins. And then maybe you win away at Atlanta, or you beat Napoli, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, call me out, guys, if I'm being too pessimistic, but right now, Benfica, Ajax, Paphos, Karabag, and a win away. You know what? I don't even know if we win them home games, all of them. I'm even looking at. I watched the first round of Champions League games. I watched Karabakh highlights. They
They
beat.
beat
I think
Benfica. They were
they
2-0
beat
down. They beat
Benfica.
Benfica, yeah.
Mate, I can tell you that now. I'm pretty sure that stat away game sandwiched into another couple of Prem games. Mate, we're
Yeah,
going to
bro,
send a
it's at the back end of November or start of December, that Karabakh game.
we're going to send. I tell you now, we're going to send a. I'll make a prediction. We're going to send a weak team out there to Kazakhstan or wherever the fuck it is, and we're going to struggle massively in that game. So we need to be very careful with the Champions League because I can see us slipping up in the Champions League. Now, for me, would it be embarrassing as a club knowing how good Chelsea are in the Champions League? Yeah, everyone would be fuming. But for me, I'm sitting here right now, and not even right now. I said in the summer, after that window ended, I was thinking we need to prioritize one of them because we can't do both. Like we just can't, especially with Palmer's injury, which is not going to get any better. By the way, I watched your stream yesterday, and I agree with what you said about we might as well just do the surgery because there's no point managing his groin because he's clearly got
and you've got two international breaks coming up now. So that'd be 4 weeks of recovery would be international breaks. Like this is the logical point to do this.
I don't think we've got good enough depth and quality to compete, on the Champions League and in the Premier League. Like I think
that's not a ridiculous thing to say, bro. That I think most Chelsea fans who are reasonable will acknowledge that is absolutely the case. That we don't have the depth or the quality in depth to compete on multiple fronts. For me,
I'll be surprised if we get out the groups comfortably, the league phase, like without sort of like I think we'll make a real fucking hash of it. I think we'll make a real meal out of it, and we might just squeak through. Or maybe not. Like I think it's gonna be difficult.
I mean, look, ultimately, the Champions League is just about getting through. Yeah. Ideally, top 8, but you can finish top 24 and still get through. Obviously, you've got to go for a playoff round, which might not be ideal. But I agree with you. Look, we've lost to Bayern Munich. Okay, that game's done. But you're right. Mourinho back at Stamford Bridge against Benfica. That suddenly puts a bit more of a spin on that game. Maybe it makes that game a bit more difficult. I would still expect us to win that. That Benfica team is not that different to the one that we beat at the Club World Cup, even if you have Mourinho in it. However, look at Barcelona at Stamford Bridge. That's going to be very, very tough to get anything out of that game, if we're being honest. Napoli away, by the way, very, very difficult. Atalanta away is tough, maybe not as tough now that Gasparini's not there anymore. Karabakh, I agree with you. Azerbaijan, it's going to be a tough place to go. It's going to be in the depths of winter. You're not really sure what's going to happen there. And then Ajax and Paphos at home, you'd expect us to win. But yeah, the draw is tough. And you say win your home games and maybe pick up a few points on the road, but it's tough. And if we don't win on Tuesday night, you're suddenly got 2 games. You're 2 games in, and you might have 1 point on the board, and then you're putting massive pressure on these games later on, which you might want to rotate in if you're already in a favourable position. So it's tricky. I mean, what are your thoughts on the squad in general? Do you think it is better than the squad we finished last season with?
I think it's about the same, to be honest. And I think the reason why it might look worse is because now we don't have the Conference League and we have the Champions League. So I mean, a couple of them are difficult to judge. Like I wasn't a massive fan of Madueke, to be honest. But the problem is that we replaced Madueke with 2 wingers that aren't really going to do any better in terms of numbers or goals and assists this season. Like I don't think them 2 are going to be like, oh, we upgraded on Madueke. I don't think this season, like, okay, you can say João Pedro's an upgrade on Jackson, but like overall, like,
wasn't João Pedro to replacing Nkunku really?
Exactly. So I was going to say, like, with Delap's injury, how well is Delap going to do in comparative to Jackson? And because João Pedro is now the striker, does Delap develop to what he maybe could have if he was the main number 9? And that's the question we'll never know. Obviously we didn't have a Cucurella backup last season, so we have to say Hato's an upgrade there. But
agreed.
Again, but again though, like I will just say on Hato, a couple of times I've seen him play, he's not really doing the role that Cucurella did last season. Like, he's inverting, but like Cucurella, I thought Hato would play left centre back and then like
No,
left back off.
he's not doing that.
And he's not doing that. So you see, Maresca would trust Cucurella to build up in a free, but Maresca's not really doing that with Hato. So even that one, they're not exactly kind of 100% the same, although there are some similarities. Obviously, the goalkeeper stayed the same. Everyone knows Sanchez is a bozo.
Right, bro, by the way, I was one of the people, we might as well talk goalkeepers quickly. I was one of the people that was genuinely convinced that Jorgensen was better than Sanchez. I have to hold my hands up and say, this guy absolutely is not better than Sanchez.
Mate, the thing is with Jorgensen is I think he's really good on the ball, but he's terrible as a goalkeeper. Sanchez is, I don't want to say, well, I'm not saying good as a goalkeeper, but more often than not over the last few months, he's been good as a goalkeeper, but he just has, they both have massive, bozo brain fart genes in them. So
but Jorgensen's basically acting has got no hands.
It was oh mate, it was absolute. I mean, you was there, weren't you, against Lincoln?
Bro, he was just dropping at everything.
Oh, bro, when I was watching it at the TV, I was literally like, I'd never seen anything like it, mate. What an absolute mess he made of every single throw-in, every single cross, every single free kick. I mean, the guy was shit scared of doing anything. And the one time he did do something, he knocked his own player out. So
yeah,
punch Fofana in there.
But that's a worry in itself, though, isn't it? Like, in terms of the blueprint to hurt us, just put a load of balls in the box. Because, like, Sanchez is better at commanding the box, but he's not amazing. But every time, bro, like, and we might as well talk defense. How mad is it? And this is where I do actually cut Maresca some slack, because the only time I've been annoyed with Maresca this season is against Man United, where he was a coward. Other than that, I actually think he's done a reasonable job. I look at the mistakes that we're making. You could go back to the goals that we've conceded across all of the last 4 games. Every single one is a defensive shambles or an individual error. The ball over the top against Brentford, tossing 1v1 defending, pathetic. The long throw-in, shocking defending. The 3 goals against Bayern Munich, ridiculous individual mistakes from everyone. The 2 goals against Man United. The second one of the worst goals you probably ever see a team concede, not just Chelsea. And then the goal against Lincoln. What Enzo Fernandez is doing with that pass and what Chalobah's doing half asleep there is ridiculous. Bro, how concerned are you by this defence and the sheer volume of errors that they're making?
Mate, I'm extremely concerned. I'm extremely concerned because we're conceding goals to shit teams like Brentford. Brentford are terrible. Like, do you know how many players they've lost this season? We conceded 2 goals to Brentford. We conceded a goal to Lincoln. We could have conceded 3 or 4 to Lincoln City. West Ham, like, okay, that was maybe the one anomaly, but still they had chances. They went ahead in the game. What other games have we had?
Bayern Munich, multiple mistakes.
Bayern Munich, yeah. But I'm sure we'll talk about the Brighton game this weekend. But mate, I'm terrified because we look so fragile defensively. Whether it's crosses, whether it's whenever a player runs at our defense, we look all over the place. We're still trying to press high, but then we're getting caught out on transitions because players are more aware of our game plan now. So any team with pace or any team with any sort of bit of grit in them can create chances against us. It doesn't take much at the moment. And unfortunately, we're not really getting bailed out by anyone. No, none of our defenders or goalkeepers. In fact, we just make it worse for ourselves because not only do we get caught on our own game plan, but we're also making mistakes such as passing the ball to players and opposition players and red cards for Sanchez and not dealing with long throws. And it's like all of these goals we concede are our own fault. Like, they really are. Like, the only one I would say this season where I've been like, oh, that was we should have done really better on that was probably Sharda's goal, because that was a direct consequence of Brentford's game plan. Like, we should have dealt with that better. We shouldn't have pressed as high up. We shouldn't have allowed all that space in midfield, and we shouldn't we knew their outball was Sharda, and Sharda ends up scoring a goal on a counter attack. But even then, mate, to be honest, thinking about it, Tosin 1v1. He's got to be like one of the worst defenders I've ever seen.
Mate, so bad.
And these
so slow.
directors, mate, these directors, all they do is for centre backs, how good are they on the ball? It's never about defending. It's never about duels. It's how good are they on the ball? Okay, well, you can see this season that the direct consequence of that thought of recruitment for defenders is costing us, because when they actually have to defend, they can't defend. And you're seeing that with Tosin.
By the way, talk about playing out from the back.
Yeah,
Chalobah and Fofana against Lincoln in that first half. They couldn't play out from the back against a League One seed.
Terrible. But I was talking about Tosin in terms of like, he can play at the back, but he can't defend. Like, he backs off play. He thinks he's Van Dijk. He's been aura defending this season.
He's trying to aura defend, yeah.
Bro. Josh King, disallowed goal. Let him run. Backs off. Let him cut in on his right foot and score. Sharda, same thing. Let him run. Back off. Let him cut him on his strong foot and shoot. Tosin's a terrible 1v1 defender. So how do you expect Chelsea to win games comfortably with good performances when you've got clowns at centre back, absolute clowns, mate? And Reece James can't play every single game, so Malo Bozo Gusto also has to play now, who's been shocking for a year and a half. So like, who are you relying on in that back four? Cucurella is the only player that's consistent in that back four, defensively and on the ball. Tosin, Fofana, Chalobah, Gusto, all shit. All inconsistent. Let's be real here. Like, Badia Shield's coming back. Oh, brilliant. He's going to miraculously do a lot better than the current ones, isn't he? Like, what are these players? But Hato, when he comes in, same thing. Like,
yeah, but you know what's interesting, right? A few people have mentioned it in the chat. What is going on with Josh Achimpong? Because I felt he had a decent game against Crystal Palace up against Mateta. Wasn't outclassed, wasn't embarrassed in any way whatsoever. And we've not seen him since. He's not kicked a ball since the first game of the season. This was a guy that we froze out to get him to sign a new contract. I said at the time that was purely a move to protect the asset and to protect the value so that he didn't leave for free or leave on a cheap fee. I don't know what they said to him, but there's no pathway. He's not going to get in at right back. And if he can't get minutes at centre-back in this current centre-back situation with the quality of centre-backs we've got, then when on earth is this guy going to play and get a chance at Chelsea? And this is on Maresca. Bro, what do you reckon's going on with Achimpong? And is it a surprise to you at all? Because for me, I don't see it as a surprise. I predicted that this would happen. He'd sign the new contract and he would barely play for us.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we have to believe the club line that he's been ill lately, but I mean, we'll see on Sunday, won't we? We'll see if he's in the squad. We'll see if he plays. Maresca did say something the other day where he was left out of one of the squads, and he said, well, it was just due to us having.
That was the Man United game.
That was Man United, wasn't it? So he said it was just due to us having Tosin and Fofana. It's like, are you joking? Like, have you seen these current performances? Like, and that's the thing. Maresca, for me, I back him. I really do. I really back this guy. But there is a but to this. He has to start dropping players that are underperforming, because when he brings in players and if like they're also underperforming and they're also not the level, well, then the fans can't have a go at Maresca at all because he's utilised his current squad. But whether he rates the current squad or not, he has to start using Gear. He has to start using Achimpong. He has to start not even just starting these guys in Premier League games. Andre Santos, Enzo Fernandez has been shocking this season. He's been terrible, honestly. Andre Santos needs to play. Josh needs to play. Guiu needs chances. Players need to be given chances here. So once he utilises his whole squad, then no one can really say anything about Maresca. But at the moment, for me, Achimpong's one of the big ones, because I'm looking at these defenders constantly mess up, and I don't see a reason why Achimpong doesn't get a start, because let's be honest, the one time he started this season, he wasn't great with breaking the lines. It was his first game in central centre-back.
But he defended Mateta well.
He defended, keyword, well. What are none of our players doing? Defending well. Like, it's just put 2 and 2 together and start playing Josh. Like, what is going on,
Yeah, bro, I'll be honest. I don't know what's going on, but it's not a surprise to me that he's not featured. Not because of a quality issue, just because, I didn't expect him to play much. I mean, and I agree with you on the Maresca thing, and that was the point I was going to make myself, is that, look, we get it. It's evident that we know you weren't happy with the business. You're not happy with some of the players that came in. You're not particularly happy with the squad. However, there's nothing we can do about that until January at the earliest. You've got to make better use of what you've got. This obsession with Tyreek George, who was about to leave on deadline day, being used over a Guiu or being used over a Garnacho at Man United. You know, these are odd decisions. I mean, just on Guiu, by the way, it was evident Maresca didn't rate Guiu based on last season. It was evident he didn't rate him because he went out on loan to Sunderland. He would have, Maresca for sure wanted Jackson to stay, in my opinion, much rather than Guiu coming back. I don't even really think he wanted Guiu back. Are you surprised that Guiu's not featured once since he came back, given we literally have no number 9s?
Am I surprised he came back?
No, you're surprised that he's not featured and we've got no number 9s?
Am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised, because I never think Maresca rated him. So not to the level in coming on in the Premier League or Champions League. No, I think he was very much rated as a Conference League player. So am I surprised? No. Will I be a bit frustrated moving forward if he doesn't feature? Yes, because I know Tyreek scored that goal against Lincoln, but this guy's not a striker and Guiu is. So just for the sake of giving João Pedro some rest, taking him off, making sure he doesn't play every single 90-minute possible, then yeah, Guiu needs to play, mate. He has to. We got no choice. Like, you can't just play Tyreek George or play a false 9 up there. Like, at least you have a number 9 at the club, you know, who's got striker instincts. Like, yeah, he needs to definitely come off the bench. Even if it's like 75 minutes, playing 15 minutes, like, that's fine, but he needs to be used, because let's be honest, he's not a bad player. Like, he's not a bad player at all. And is he the level we need this season to win us the league? Absolutely not. He's nowhere close. But can he do a job off the bench? Can he harass defenders? Can he head the ball? Yes, he can. You know, has he scored some decent goals for Chelsea? Yes. So for me, I think we do need to use him more. I think we do. And I think Maresca's, again, in the next few games, another thing where we're going to be looking at Maresca, is he going to be using Mark Guiu, or is it a case of, well, I didn't want Guiu back, so I'm just not going to use him, and, you know, make a point to the directors? What one's it going to be, you know?
I mean, mate, do you think there's any chance, because it was in that article yesterday, obviously, if Delap comes back, when Delap comes back, obviously Guiu falls further down the pecking order. Some reports are suggesting there might be an option to bring Emmanuel Amiga in January rather than waiting until next summer. I don't know whether that's true or not. Do you think there could be a chance? I don't think we can even afford to do this, even if we wanted to. But obviously, if Guiu plays 1 minute for us, he can't go on loan anywhere else, because you can't play for more than 2 teams in a season. Do you think there's any chance that we don't use him at all and send him out in January?
There's definitely a chance. I'd heard today that there was potentially, like, it had been discussed where, just as a thought, to bring Omega in January and then permanently sell Guiu to Strasbourg, whether or not the player would want that or not, or if that could happen, because I saw people say that you can't play for, you know, like, you couldn't do that on a permanent or a loan, because it would be 3 clubs in the same season. But I don't know if I thought that was just for a loan, so I'm not sure. But I certainly think, I mean, well, let's be honest, all will be revealed in the next few games. If he doesn't play in the next few games, he's not going to play. Like, that's very simple here. You know, we've got a game on Saturday, we've got a game on Tuesday. You know, like we're getting into October. You know what I mean? Like, it's not long really until we're going to start, you know, really hitting the busy period. And then when he doesn't play in those games, or if he doesn't play in those games, then yeah, obviously he's not going to play at all. I mean, for me, the more baffling thing is Tyreek George, who was literally going to be sold, and now all of a sudden he's being used like he's like a major part of the squad.
He's like the first choice rotation now.
Literally, I don't get it. He's not a striker. Like, it's like playing Neto up front, mate. It's just so dumb. Like, I don't get it. Like, will they score a goal every now and again? Yeah, but like, man, like, I don't know. It makes it. I'm sounding like Guiu was like R9 here. I promise you, I don't rate him that highly, but it just for me,
But he is a 9, though. That's the point. We don't have any.
The logistics of it just doesn't add up to me. Like, why would you play George over Key? I don't get it. It makes no sense.
Bro, I don't get it either. I mean, part of me thinks it's him sending a message, but then when it's a consistent thing, it's just like, well, yeah, maybe this guy just doesn't like him, don't rate him at all. And he's perhaps sending a message. I mean, bro, I know it's obviously impossible to tell. How likely do you think it is that we do try and bring Amiga in January? Obviously, we probably have to give Strasbourg a striker to replace him with, or sign one for them. Do you think that's something we'll really look at? I mean, Delap is expected to return in November, but again, that's the training. He might not be fit until end of November, start of December. Do you think there's a serious chance we could look at bringing Amiga in Jan? Is that even possible?
It's definitely possible. I don't think there's any sort of agreement that it's summer only. It's definitely possible. I would say, to be honest, like I think a lot rests on when the lap comes back and how he comes back. Because let's say he comes back middle of November and he plays November like after the national break, and he comes basically straight back in, and he has a good December, because December's always packed with a shitload of games. So if he performs in December and we have João Pedro and Delap, I think we'll leave Omega until the summer. But if Delap's coming back and he's kind of, struggling a bit, not really doing much, or is in training for ages until he actually makes a return until like mid-December, early December, then I think, yeah, maybe we'll bring Omega in. I think a lot depends on Delap really more than Gear.
Yeah, true. I mean, obviously there was something yesterday which turned out to not be true about Delap targeting a return in the new year. Do you think that was a genuine mistake, or do you think there could be maybe something in that?
Well, I don't know, to be honest, but I had the journalist who wrote that messaged me and said, where did I basically say that? And I obviously showed him, and then he said, he's basically just editing or something mistake. I don't know. It was changed. So yeah, I mean, we'll see, won't we? I mean, hamstring surgery. He's targeting a November return, but like you say, does that mean
that's just training, though, isn't it?
Yeah, like what sort of once he gets back to training, how many weeks or days
Mate,
is it until he gets
bro? That could be a month though. Still, like that, like literally, if you've been out for 10 weeks, that could be a month back in training before you play again.
Exactly, and in that case, well, you might as well be out until the new year, mightn't you? So I don't know. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, that is a problem, isn't it? It is a problem. Yeah, I don't know where we're at with this whole forward situation, but I mean, God forbid anything happens to Liam Delap. Sorry, not Liam Delap, João Pedro. We'd be in big trouble. But Maresca keeps playing him all the time. I get it, he has to, but he even admitted himself after Brentford he played him when he wasn't fit. I mean, yeah. It's mad. I mean, bro, what do you think of Maresca playing players that aren't fit? He did it with Cole Palmer. We touched on it earlier. This is not sustainable with Palmer to manage him on a game-by-game basis, going into games where he might get through the whole game, or he might have to come off after 15 minutes. Is that the solution for the season? Might get a game out of him, might get 10 minutes out of him. That is not a solution. No. What are your thoughts on the Cole Palmer thing quickly, and the way that Maresca's playing players, even though they've told him they're not fit?
Well, on Maresca playing players, on that thing, the simple answer to that is he doesn't rate who's back up to that certain player.
Yeah.
So he wants to even play that player, even though, he just doesn't rate whoever's after him. So he's like, well, as much as I'd love to give you a rest, mate, look who's, up next. I've got to choose this guy instead, So there's a massive drop off. And Maresca clearly doesn't like those or rate those players that are, you know what I'm trying to say. And for the injury on Palmer, I think he should get surgery, because it's kind of been touted to Maresca. Maresca already said, I was told about potential option of surgery. Chelsea are clearly going to try and manage things, but I don't really see what's going to change him, mate. Haven't we been trying to manage him for the last few months? I mean, what's going to miraculously get better? Like, I don't get it. Surely it's just going to keep getting worse or stay the same the more you play on it. So it doesn't seem like a good solution is to play him one game and then cause more damage, or maybe not, not play 100% to his level, and then he'll miss the next game. I mean, like, it's just stupid. I mean, I don't get it really. Like you say, if there's a time to do surgery, it's now. Because if you look at our fixtures,
breaks, isn't it?
mate, international breaks and our fixtures are quite favourable. So some tough ones here, but quite favourable. You do surgery after or near the new year. After that, forget it.
Oh, it's a problem. Do you know what? Do you know what I think they'll try and do? And this is just my opinion on it. They'll try and get him through this next 3 games. So Brighton, Benfica, and Liverpool. As soon as that Liverpool game's done, off for the surgery. But that for me is what would make the most sense. If you can manage him through these next 3, and then after Liverpool, straight off for the surgery, and then come back whenever you come back. I mean, is there even any sort of reported idea of how long he might be out for after surgery? What are we talking about, like 4 or 5 weeks or something? I mean, does anyone know?
I don't really know. The problem with the Palmer one is we know he's got a problem with his groin, but we don't know the exact problem, the exact area, the exact injury.
Is it similar to what Fernandes had a couple seasons ago, and then he eventually went for the surgery?
Well, he had it. It wasn't in his groin, was it?
He had a hernia, wasn't it?
Hernia. But you can get hernias in your groin, apparently. So, yeah. You'd imagine he'd miss a couple of months at least, which, mate, as I said, we are hanging on a thread. If something happens to Caicedo, João Pedro, Cucurella, or Palmer, mate, just forget it.
Something's already happened to Palmer. So, yeah, I mean.
But, like, if he has to go for surgery and... Yeah, mate. Honestly, we're fucked. We're fucked. Look, it would be a problem. There's no escaping it. It would be a problem. Couple of things, bro. What I know we sort of touched on this earlier, but I forgot to ask it. Is there any indication that Maresca's comments are annoying people within the club, or not gone down well? Is there any indication that might be the case? Well, I don't think there's any major drama, but I do think that there will be certain people that will rather him not do it, of course, and keep it all internal. As I said, they don't like their ego being tested. They don't like basically being gone against, I guess, their decisions being questioned. This is what I often find, they are. I mean, I just think they're very arrogant, to be honest. Upstairs, I think they think they know what they're doing is 100% correct, and there's no way that they're wrong. That's kind of the attitude that I think comes across most of the time. So yeah, I mean, I don't think they'll like Maresca saying certain things. Like, I think the one that will probably rub them the wrong way the most is what he said about Liverpool's recruitment, in terms of like, when you see what they're doing, it's clear that they're going for the Premier League again, that sort of thing. But that's facts. Like, if you don't like that, I'm sorry. If you don't like that, I'm sorry, but fuck off. Like, he's saying the truth. Like, whether or not you want it said or not, I don't care. Like, I would say that it's true. Like, it's factually true. Like, you can't sit here and say, oh, Maresca shouldn't have said that because look, we signed Gittins and Garnacho, and they're on the level of Isak and Wirtz. Like, you can't be that deluded, surely. Like, it is true what he's saying.
I mean, like, this is also true. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to head that way, but generally speaking, managers, when they start speaking out against an ownership, it does only go one way. I'm not saying we're anywhere near that sort of situation right now, but that will, if that continues, then that only ends in one scenario, which would be obviously with the manager going. But I think we're obviously quite away from that still. By the way, guys, nearly 200 in the building, only 73 likes, which is poor. So make sure you're smashing that like button. Get this up to 100 likes, guys. Make sure you are also subscribing to the channel if you're new around here as well. We're getting ever closer to the 20k mark, so every new subscriber would really help, and I'd massively appreciate it. But yeah, make sure you're smashing the like button. It really helps out, gets more eyes on the content. So yeah, make sure you're running these likes up, guys. Get this to 100 ASAP. Bro, let's talk about the football. We've got Brighton on Saturday. Tough game. A game that, given the results we've had in the last couple of weeks, almost becomes must win in game week 6, which seems mental to be saying that. But I feel like we are bordering on that territory given Liverpool's the game after that as well. Where are you at with what you've seen on the pitch so far?
Sorry, man. Just trying to mute Discord somehow. I guess you guys can
No,
hear it. But
it's all good, bro.
yeah, I mean, it's what I've seen on the pitch so far. No, not great. Defense is seriously worrying me. The attacks. I don't know. Depending on the team we play, I guess. Depending on who plays, sometimes it's good, sometimes it's crap. I think we struggle against certain times of opposition. But yeah, the defense is the main concern. Obviously, I think we'll always create chances to a certain extent going forward, and depending on how clinical we'll be, will probably be what decides these games at the moment, because I just don't see us keeping the ball out of the net. I don't see us. I mean, can't keep a clean sheet against Lincoln. We're not keeping a clean sheet against Brighton on the weekend. I mean, you talk about Brighton. Oh, they can score goals. Like, they can definitely score goals. They have got good attackers. They've got a good system. Mitoma, Welbeck, Minter's doing really well.
Minter's doing really well, yeah.
So for me, the worrying thing about Brighton I look at, they got pace. And I think we're struggling with pace at the moment. We're struggling with when teams pin us back and run at us, that's when we look most vulnerable. So that's what I'm worried about this weekend with their wingers. Not necessarily just one-on-ones against our fullbacks, because obviously James and Cucurella will play, but it's more so like the structure and the overall feel of the team and the runners beyond when teams run at us. That it just seems like every time a team gets in and around the box, it's chaos and it's panic. And it's like, yeah, it panic's the best way I could describe it. We don't seem cool, calm, collected. We're going to deal with these defensive. We're going to deal with our duties. We seem to be making a real mess of things. And, they've got some aerial threat as well. Van Hecker, Dunk, Welbeck. So, mate, I mean, the game plan's there to get a result against us. It's just how, we're going to have to turn up. We need to start turning our performances around. We still have got players in our starting 11 to win these next 2 games, at least, against Benfica and Brighton. But the way Brighton play, if again, they're one of them teams. If they're on it, we'll be in trouble. They're a bit like us. If they're not on it, yeah, we might beat them 3-1 or 3-0 or something. But it's not a game where I'm looking at saying that's a confidence booster, because it's not. Like, they're a good team and they can get a result against us. So let's see how we do. But am I confident right now of getting a result against them on Saturday? Absolutely not, because our defense is an absolute shambles at the moment.
Would you agree with me? Do you think it's must win?
Well, I hate the must win, saying 6 games into a season, but I think maybe more so for confidence. It probably is like more than a should win. It's like, this would be, this would really, really help if we would win, and especially going into a Champions League game, having that pressure. If we don't beat Brighton, we're already thinking, oh shit, we lost the first Champions League game. We kind of need to win this one. So for me, it's more about like less must win, because nothing's going to happen if we don't win. Nothing's going to change. We just go into the next game. It's more so like, okay, if we want to start turning things around, we need to win here. We need to build a run of results, But yeah, it's going to be interesting because Brighton as well. I mean, they played City and they played Spurs, and they played a back 5 in both games, and they actually conceded possession. So people thinking we might get some like mad end-to-end game against Brighton might be surprised on the weekend. We might actually face a deep block, and not a bad idea. Not a bad idea against us, is it? Sit back, Mitoma and Minter on the break. I mean, don't sound bad against this current defense. Can't lie. Oh,
yeah, no, mate. I mean, it's going to be really tricky. I mean, do you think the team picks itself for Saturday? I mean, obviously, depending if Palmer's fit or not. If Palmer's not fit, we've got a slight issue in what would you do in the 10 if Palmer's not fit? Because Buonanotte is obviously not available because he's on loan from Brighton. What are you doing in the 10 on Saturday if that situation occurs? I mean, we can't be doing an Enzo Fernandez in the 10 again. I don't want to see it. It just doesn't work, in my view. Would you put an Esteval in there? Would you put a Joao Pedro in there and play Mark Guiu? I suppose the obvious solution would be put Pedro in there and play Guiu as 9, but I can't see that happening. What would you do in the situation there's no Palmer and obviously there's no Buonanotte either?
I wouldn't play Enzo, but I think in the case of Palmer not being there, it will be a front five, if you will, on the ball of Garnacho on the left, Enzo, Esteval, Neto, and João Pedro. I think that's how we would line up with the two players behind them.
I mean, it would make sense to just start Guiu and use Pedro as a 10.
There's no way he's going to start. He's not.
No, he's not. He's not. No, I know he's not. But that would be the logical thing, surely.
I mean, I don't know, because I think at the moment, if Palmer's not there, I think we need João Pedro as close to goal as possible because he's the only one looking clinical. So for me, I'd still stick him up front no matter what because I want him close to the goal because at the moment, you say about the defence, but let's be honest, the same players are scoring our goals as well. So if Palmer's not there, I don't want to rely on Guiu to score the chances that João Pedro creates. I'd much rather rely on João Pedro to score the chances that Esteval creates, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. In terms of defence, we've seen Maresca go with the Fofana-Chalobah partnership for the last 2 games. We need a settled partnership. I hate chopping and changing the centre-back pairing game by game. That's just useless and really doesn't help anyone. Do you think he's going to stick with the Chalobah and Fofana pairing now for the foreseeable? And that is his preferred partnership whilst Colwell's out and whilst he's got the options that he's got. Do you think it should be Chalobah and Fofana, just continue with that? Or do you think he's going to change it again?
I think he's going to play Tosin and Fofana on Saturday, I think. I think that's what he'll do as centre-backs. Tosin didn't play against Lincoln, so I think he'll come back in. And for height as well, even though he didn't even jump against United on the second goal. Yeah. But that's that. But I think he'll come back in, and I think Fofana will keep playing because, I mean, if he plays him, a few days? I was shocked he started against Lincoln. I was like,
I wasn't expecting that at all.
I was like, what the hell? So if he starts him in that game, I don't see a reason why he doesn't start him against Brighton in a Premier League game. Like, for me, I almost had this a few weeks ago when Maresca was almost he was asked about a defender and he was like, oh yeah, if Fofana stays fit sort of thing, you need to stay fit first. I'm always thinking Maresca's not self-sabotaging Fofana and the centre-back options, but I almost thought when I saw him playing against Lincoln, I was like, is Maresca just going to keep playing Fofana every few days just to test how long he can stay fit for? Because it's almost like when he does get injured, it's it just proves my point. He's unreliable. It's almost like he's back. I'm just going to use him now. You know what I mean? And it's it almost seems like when Maresca made that comment, I was like, yeah, I think he might just keep playing him, and just see, almost prove his point.
What have you made of Fofana's performances in the last 2 games? Obviously, since he's been out injured, what have you made of his kind of last 2 performances?
Shocking. I think he's been dreadful. I think he was really bad against United. He was terrible on the second goal. He looks slow. He looks like he's lost a yard of pace, which isn't surprising with his injuries. And he can't play at the back at all. I mean, he's been absolutely dreadful on the ball. He looks a complete shadow against himself. There was another one against United away where he literally passed the ball to Ahmad. I think he tried to cross the ball. Jorgensen came out. He was, I don't know. I saw people say he was good against United. I heavily disagree. I mean, I thought he was really, really bad. I think the whole defence was. But, mate, just go and watch that second goal. He's embarrassing, honestly. I think compared to what I've seen of Fofana when he's come back previous times from injuries, I think he looks washed, to be honest.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But do you agree with me that Maresca just needs to pick a 2 and just stick with it?
Not really, no, because, well, when he finds a 2, but while there's not a 2 that's clearly good enough, I think keep changing it until you find a game where they're really good together, or 2 games where they're really good together, and then stick with it. But right now, I mean, if one plays bad, one plays good, then or if both play bad, like they are, then keep changing it, because you can't reward mediocrity and you can't play players through bad form. But unfortunately, we haven't got that many centre-back options. Josh is obviously the outlier here, but yeah, I mean, he's kind of...
I mean, Badia Shield, maybe he's back soon.
Mate, I don't even know, but he's also like obviously more of a left centre-back, so I don't really know, to be honest.
With Badia Shield, right? Given the current situation, if he can get himself fit and find any sort of form, there's a big opportunity for him to be the left centre-back this season. If he can find any sort of form.
There's an opportunity. If I turned up to training, I could start centre back with these lot. Honestly, mate, these are shocking. None of them are playing good. No, none of them. Tosin,
but this is my point, though. This is my point: is that from Badia Shield's perspective, there's a massive opportunity here for him.
You'd think so, but then also, why is he not playing Josh? Considering the other three have been absolutely dreadful. So
I mean, that would be. I think that would annoy a lot of people if Badia Shield gets himself back fit and he starts getting minutes ahead of Action Paul.
He probably will, though, because Maresca really likes Badia Shield. Like, I think, so do the board for some reason, but that's also probably why Fofana's not playing. Fofana's playing loads because Maresca's, gone on record last season, at the start saying he was very... he loves him and all this. He's in love with Fofana and all this. So I think that's also why he just keeps playing him, because it's like, well, Fofana's back now, so I'm going to use him until he gets injured. But unfortunately, he's not playing good either. So, yeah, I don't know, man.
Bro, there's a question here for you about Maresca. Was there any Chelsea interest in him?
From the scouting side, yeah, Chelsea had been scouting midfielders and centre-backs throughout the whole of last season. They came up with a few names. Because they were obviously that's their job. They're told to scout certain profiles and areas. Maresca was one. Loic Bade was one that went to Leverkusen. But unfortunately, there is a disconnect between what the scouts recommend and often what the directors execute. And it's left a few scouts and data analysts sometimes wondering, well, kind of what's the point of what I'm doing? Because a lot of what we do, a lot of the hard work we put in isn't often executed unless it's like a 16-year-old South American, which is a completely different scenario. So when it comes to first team signings, they do obviously recommend a lot of players towards the end of the season before the windows, once they've done all their reports. But unfortunately, a lot of the time they don't get executed by Paul and Lawrence and Joe Shields and Sam.
Do you think, for example, Maresca, he'd be starting for us now, wouldn't he?
Mate, take any Arsenal defender they start.
Well, yeah, but Maresca would be starting.
Yeah, definitely. I've watched a couple of Arsenal games. He looks really, really good. Right centre back. He's strong. He's quick. He's good on the ball. He's good in the air. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like the areas we desperately need players in. We never make a smart buy, do we? We never make that was a really good buy. Very, very, very rarely. Maybe Penders will be on the goalkeeper, but I already tell you something for free. He will start next season for Chelsea. I guarantee it. He will start.
Well, this is what I wanted to talk about.
He's 21 years old, mate. Yeah, he's 21.
I know, but do you think their reluctance to not sign a goalkeeper is because they're hoping that Penders basically develops 100%. Really quickly at Strasbourg this season, and then he's just going to go straight in?
100%. I was told when we first signed him, which was a while ago now.
What, Penders?
Yeah, Penders. I was told when we very first signed him, like he's like, this is not like a Petrovic. This is not a profit flip. He is going to be our goalkeeper if he progresses in the way we think he's going to be. And I think if he has a good loan at Strasbourg, I think he starts for us next season. And I find that...
I think that's mad.
I find that incredibly scary. Do you know why? Because one, but to be honest, it will almost like validate and fit in with everything these owners are trying to do. And it will be like, if it's a success story, it's like, this is exactly the model. This is why it works. We've signed a kid from Belgium. He's so young. With no Premier League team has been successful with a keeper this young before, but we're going to be the ones. That is what they're like, and that's why it scares me for future windows, because they're just going to keep doing it. They basically want to do stuff that's never been done before. That is basically their model. They want to break the boat. They want to prove people that their way is the right way, even though it's never, ever, ever been proven before. You're not winning a Premier League or a Champions League with a fucking 21-year-old. It doesn't matter if they're the next coming of Manuel Neuer, mate. They're 21 years old. They're still going to make mistakes. They're still immature, you know?
To be honest, mate, he needs 2 seasons minimum at Strasbourg.
Facts. I mean, let's be honest though, is Strasbourg even the be-all and end-all to be ready for Chelsea? Because Petrovic was quality there last season. He looks rubbish
and it meant nothing. He was Strasbourg Player of the Year, and it didn't mean anything in the end.
But he also looks rubbish for Bournemouth. You know,
it doesn't look great at Bournemouth. But if anything, right, surely Petrovic would be the perfect example of the model working. You go to Strasbourg, you have an outstanding season. You're one of the best goalkeepers in Europe last season statistically. You're named Strasbourg Player of the Year. Surely, on how the model should work, that should surely equate to Petrovic being in goal for Chelsea this season, if the model works how it's supposed to work.
Yeah, but I also think they decide who is going to be a profit flip and who is going to be one to develop to come into the first team as soon as they sign them. Like they already have this idea in the back of their head. And I can very quickly know, for example, Kenda, obviously he's not going to be a profit flip. Esteval was never going to be a profit flip. Andrew Santos.
Do you think Pys is a profit flip?
I think he's 50-50.
So I'll be real on Pys, bro. I don't see where he plays for us.
I think he is like not as secure as like Kenda or Penders, and Esteval. I was going to mention Andrew Santos because he had and you can always tell they always do a lot of PR very early on for these players for the future, and it's the reason why I didn't think Andrew Santos is ever going to be a profit flip unless he asks to leave is because of the PR they did early on, for him. So I was like, okay, he's going to be one that they don't want to sell. Pys, I'm not so sure. I think the plan is still to have him as a backup number 10. But for example, I know they're still looking at Morgan Rogers. They looked at Fermin Lopez. They looked at a lot of number 10s. So there's still a possibility we sign a number 10 in the future. And in that sense, I think Pys then probably gets quite blocked. So that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting for sure.
Yeah, it's a strange one. It is a strange one. Yeah, bro, I wouldn't be surprised if I agree with you. The plan is clearly for Penders to be the long-term number 1 at Chelsea. It just depends when they want to put him in. But even at 21, that is ridiculously young for a goalkeeper. 22 is ridiculously young as well. But I suppose if you're ready, you're ready. But I don't think... would it be ridiculous to say that if Penders is in goal next season, it would be drastically better than what we would have had in goal this season?
I don't think it will. No, I don't think. Not next season. No, I don't think.
No, exactly. Obviously, over time it would 100% be. But in terms of if he were to go in next season, I don't think that's a significant improvement on what's been in goal this season.
No, I don't think either because whatever you want to say about Sanchez, he's quite experienced in the Premier League now. He's very experienced. He's been in the Premier League a long time. So, the acclimatization for Penders, the pressure on being number 1 for Chelsea. I'm not saying he's going to completely crumble, but I think it will get to him more than what it does to Sanchez because with Sanchez now, let's be honest, Sanchez has been through all the criticism and all this pressure. He's beyond that. He's an experienced head. So, as much as you want to say about Sanchez, he's more of a safer bet for the short term than Penders would be. Yeah.
Courtois was pretty young when he was doing a madness at Atletico Madrid. He was. Look, Penders right now, age for age, is not better than Courtois.
He's nowhere near. He's nowhere near.
He's not. Courtois was
generational goalkeeper, mate. He was he was generational.
Because he was what 2021 at Atletico Madrid, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was something that he's whatever you want to say about that snake. He's a goalkeeper legend in the game, So he's
one of the best.
He's been one of the best, So for even from back then, I don't see. Penders is impressive, but I don't see him he's the next Courtois type thing. I think you need to realise how good Courtois was. Like he was.
He's an absolute joke. Like so good. I don't think we realise how lucky we were. Maybe we should have enjoyed those Courtois and Czech days more if we knew what was coming afterwards. But yeah, we didn't have the luxury of the hindsight. Just last thing, bro. Going to wrap up in 2-3 minutes. Some like I think we've spoken about this in the group chat before. I know it's projecting quite a long way forward, but do you think next summer that there's going to be maybe one or two what would be considered significant sales? Because I'm looking at the situation in the wide areas, and not that I think for 1 second that Pedro Neto should be sold, but I think roads could be pointing to Neto being sold to make way for Quenda.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and unless we sell one of Garnacho or Gittins, I still think that's possible. I really do. I think less so Gittins, but I do think Garnacho, if he has like a really like poor season and he's just, there's one or two problems with Maresca and the club still rate Maresca by that point and want to continue with him, I still think we bought him cheap enough to sell him on. I think that's probably the reason why we signed him as well.
Yeah.
And also, I think Enzo Fernandez might be a contender.
Do you reckon over a Lavia? Like if Lavia don't stay fit this season and struggles again, do you think we could look to move him on? Although is there going to be takers for someone that's always injured?
There won't be takers, unfortunately. And Enzo Fernandez will have a lot of takers just based on what he's done in the game and stuff, and his PR and his, let's be honest, ability still, but in other leagues, I always think he would go to Real Madrid one day,
Yeah, 100%. I could see him there.
That's for him. And I'd expect Fofana to go next summer. I think Marseille, maybe. I think it will be time to cut our losses with him. And then beyond that, I'd expect, I'd expect a lot of centre-back movement, because I think maybe the reason why there's so much PR is because like we're trying to, obviously they still rate the centre backs, but they're almost like maybe trying to get through this season with what we got.
I said this earlier. I think we're going to have a similar level of overhaul next summer in the centre back department as we did this summer up front.
Agree. Honestly, I think Tosin, Chalobah, and Badiashile will all leave next summer.
Bro, I was saying this, right? Out of the current crop, forget Colwell because he's staying. Out of Chalobah, Fofana, Badiashile, and Tosin, I think 3 of those 4 are leaving.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll go. Yeah.
Which is mental. Like, a massive overhaul at centre-back. Yeah, and then the wide areas, I agree. I think Pedro Neto I'm not saying he's in trouble, but I think you could make a point with Quenda coming in that outside of Esteval, whoever has sort of the worst season as such out of Gittins, Neto, and Garnacho could be gone. Because there's not really space for them all, is there?
No, not really. I mean, obviously, you hope we're still in the Champions League, but I mean, God help us if we're not in the Champions League, then there's even less space for these players. So, yeah, obviously a long time away, but you can already. That's the thing with this ownership as well.
You can see the direction it's going in.
You should never, as a fan, be able to know almost know what's going to happen the summer after, and that's the problem with these guys because they put so much emphasis on the future. You can already say you already know who's coming in. You already pretty much know who's going to leave, and it's like. That shouldn't be the case. Like if your squad is ultra competitive, you shouldn't have 2, 3, 4, 5 players that you know are going to leave in the summer the summer following because if they're not good enough and what they've done, with other positions. So yeah, I mean it is what it is, isn't it? But that's how we're run.
Yeah, I mean, bro. Last thing, just one question about someone's asked about Adam Wharton. Obviously, that's a long-term target. He's a target for a number of Premier League clubs. That's legit interest from a Chelsea perspective.
Yeah, 100%. But I think again he'll be very expensive, and maybe that's one where almost. I mean, a lot of people tie it into Lavia, but maybe that's tied into Enzo in terms of Enzo leaves. We signed Wharton. He can play both 6 and 8, but also.
But I don't really have Wharton down as someone that chips in with major GA.
No, I was thinking more so. I was going to say he'll play more as a 6, but because it's tied to Enzo, where Enzo plays, you didn't have a position and a spot for someone like a CFC Pys, or you can go and sign a cheaper number 10. You know what I mean?
Or
Like that.
you go and get Fermin Lopez eventually.
Yeah, because that's, you might be able to find someone who can slot in there, because where Enzo's playing is left-hand side. It's basically a 10, let's be honest. People say it's an 8, but it's basically a 10. So even though they're not directly positionally linked, think about price tags and the fact that there's no one really going to be buying Lavia. I think you do not replace Wharton, replace Enzo with Wharton, but in terms of the squad, maybe you do in terms of like logistics, not positionally, but logistics wise.
Yeah, no, it's going to be interesting, but I do agree with you. It's just like when you can sort of predict what business is going to happen, like in the next summer window, that's when it becomes a bit like, well, what are we doing here? I agree with you. You shouldn't be able to know pretty much what's going to happen, bar maybe one or two things next summer. It's madness. It is madness. But quickly, Kobe Mainu, do you envisage any situation we go back for him?
I mean, maybe, but like I almost would have thought if we were going to sign him, it would have been this summer, because there was an opportunity there on a cut price.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it will still be the same price, or it will go down even more because Amorim just doesn't play him or rate him. But I almost feel like that was one that you could have just done this summer anyway. But Chelsea don't really make sense of a lot of things. So maybe we'll end up signing Mainu even though we could have had him a season earlier.
I mean, from a Mainu perspective, I think he'll look at it and he'll think, I'll probably outlast Amorim at United, and the next guy that comes in will probably thank me, and I'll play. So maybe he's not overly fussed. But yeah, right, guys, we're going to round that one out here. Brother, thank you so much for your time as always. Always good to catch up. I'm sure if people don't know where you are, what you do, that they must be under a rock. But just let them know anyway.
Yeah, well, I mean, got multiple things going on, to be honest. CFC or Chelsea Unfiltered podcast on Spotify. I do that with Lawrence. So we release 1 or 2 episodes per week over on Spotify and Apple. Free Chelsea podcast. If you guys want to listen to my boring voice more, you can also go there, and you can also go to playback.tv/Chelsea Central, where we stream on a match day. Lineup reactions, halftime reactions, after the game reactions, then obviously my Twitter as well. And if anyone wants to personally interact with me on Instagram, I have an Instagram as well that I can type in the comments, chat to some of you guys. There you go, under Chelsea Central, and I can speak to some of you guys on there.
No, perfect, bro. Great to catch up as always. Big up to the chat. Thank you for all the support and the interaction in the show. It's greatly appreciated, guys. Please smash the likes on the way out. Subscribe if you're new around here. You don't know what to do. Let's get this towards 20k. But yeah, smash the likes on the way out. Subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll be back again tomorrow with more Chelsea content. So make sure you stay tuned in for that one. But until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening. Up the Chelsea, and we're out. Love.